According to certain teachings, every strong thought you have with emotion attached literally creates a living being, not metaphorically, actually alive with its own body, feeding off your energy. Right now, as you're listening to this, you might have dozens of these thought creatures orbiting around you. Some you created yesterday, some years ago. They influence your mood, your decisions, even your relationships. Most people have no idea they exist. What if the thoughts that seem to stick in your mind, the worries that grow stronger each day, aren't just psychological patterns, but actual living entities you've birthed into existence? If you're ready to explore the invisible world you're creating with your mind, subscribe to join our collective journey. Join us at One Paradox Collective. This perspective comes from spiritual teachings that describe how consciousness works with matter to create living forms. According to these teachings, every time you think something with strong emotion, you're taking mental and emotional ingredients. You're forming a new being with every emotionally charged thought that you have in your mind. This means every emotionally charged thought doesn't just create something in your mind, it creates actual beings. These beings exist in multiple dimensions that can influence physical reality in profound ways. And according to this teaching, most people are creating these beings completely unconsciously. So how does this creation process actually work? When you have a thought with strong emotion, you're combining mental ingredients with emotional energy. That combination creates something new, a living entity that exists in the invisible dimensions around you. But here's the critical part. If you repeat this process with the same thought-emotion combination, you're not just thinking, you're feeding an existing being. Each time you worry about money with that familiar dread, you're literally feeding a worry creature. That worry creature grows stronger and more autonomous. These beings don't stay purely mental. According to the teachings, they can influence physical events. They attract similar energies from other people and even affect your body chemistry. That persistent anxiety isn't just in your head. It's a living entity working to keep itself alive. It's making you anxious. Every thought emotion you repeat builds these beings stronger. Every time you fantasize about success with excitement, you're feeding a success being. Every time you imagine worst-case scenarios with fear, you're feeding a fear being. And most people have no idea they're running an invisible zoo of creatures they've accidentally created. This has happened through years of unconscious mental habits. Here's what makes this disturbing. These thought beings have their own survival instinct. Just like any living creature, they want to continue existing, which means they need you to keep feeding them. How do they ensure their survival? By influencing you to think the same thoughts that created them. They influence you with the same emotional intensity. That worry about your job security doesn't want to be resolved. It wants to be fed. That obsessive excitement about a crush wants you to keep fantasizing. You think you're making rational decisions, but you might actually be influenced by invisible creatures you've accidentally created. That voice in your head telling you to check your ex's social media? That might not be you. It could be a longing being that needs attention to survive. These beings can also connect with similar entities created by other people. According to the teachings, all fear beings are interconnected. All love beings network together. All anger beings feed off each other. When you create a jealousy creature, it joins a vast invisible network. This network of jealousy spans across people and places. This explains why certain emotions spread like viruses through families, workplaces, even entire cultures. It's not just psychological, it's actual living entities moving between people who are emotionally compatible with them. Right now, you might be hosting thought beings created by your parents, your friends, your culture. These beings are feeding off your energy while you assume those thoughts are naturally yours. But what if you could work with this process consciously? The teachings suggest you have complete power over these beings because you created them. The secret is recognizing which thoughts are actually yours and which are coming from entities that now want to perpetuate themselves. When you notice a recurring thought pattern with emotional charge, ask yourself, am I thinking this, or is something I created now thinking through me? If it's a thought being, you can starve it. These creatures only exist as long as they receive emotional energy. Stop feeding them attention and they dissolve back into nothing. But this requires catching them in the act of influencing you. Here's a practical technique. When you notice a familiar worry or obsession arising, instead of fighting it, acknowledge it. I see you, anxiety being. You're something I created from worrying about money. I'm choosing to stop feeding you now. Then consciously withdraw your emotional energy. For positive thought beings, you can consciously strengthen them by feeding them with clear intention. That vision of your ideal relationship isn't just fantasy. According to these teachings, it's a living entity that can attract opportunities. The key is becoming conscious of your role as a constant creator. Every strong emotion, every repeated thought pattern is birthing something into existence that will then try to influence your future thoughts and decisions. If this is real, it means we're living in a world far more alive and responsive than we realize. Every strong emotion, every mental habit, every recurring thought pattern is contributing to an invisible ecosystem of conscious beings. This changes everything about personal responsibility. You're not just responsible for your actions, you're responsible for the living entities you're constantly creating that affect everyone around you. Think about it. What if depression isn't just a chemical imbalance, but also involves feeding depression beings that grow stronger over time? What if falling in love creates actual love beings that help orchestrate romantic synchronicities? What if anger issues involve hosting aggressive entities that influence your reactions? This could explain why some people seem to attract drama wherever they go, while others effortlessly attract opportunities. It might not be just mindset or luck. It could be the invisible creatures they've created over years of specific thinking patterns. What if the collective mental state of humanity has created vast networks of fear beings, war beings, greed beings that influence global events? What if changing the world requires not just changing policies, but consciously creating different kinds of mental entities? The implications are staggering. Every thought-emotion combination is a creative act that births something into existence across multiple dimensions. So here's your invitation to experiment. For the next few days, pay attention to your recurring thoughts, not as just mental events, but as potential living beings you might be feeding. Notice which thoughts seem to have their own momentum, which worries grow stronger the more attention you give them, which positive visions seem to attract synchronicities when you focus on them with emotion. What if that persistent anxiety about your health is actually a fear creature you created that's now working to keep itself alive? What if that inspiring vision of your future is a hope being that's actively trying to manifest through you? Try this experiment. Next time you catch yourself in a familiar worry loop, instead of believing the thoughts, ask, what being did I create that's now trying to influence me? See if you can feel the difference between your authentic thoughts and the agenda of something that wants to be fed. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever noticed thoughts that seem to take on a life of their own? What would change if you knew you were constantly creating living influences with your mind? At One Paradox Collective, we explore the possibility that consciousness is far more creative and powerful than we've been taught. We don't just question what we think, we question what our thoughts are creating in dimensions we can't see. Your next thought isn't just a mental event. According to these teachings, it's a seed of consciousness that could grow into something that influences reality for years to come. Welcome to conscious creation. The invisible world has been shaped by your thoughts all along.